We are going to be looking into AI and industry regulation. There's been a bit of delay. I think it's coming from the main hall and the fact that we're having a tea break, which has spilled over a little bit. However, I want to apologize to our speakers. They've been here for a while. I sincerely do apologize for the delay. But I think we can start now. We have quite a number of people. So I'll be calling up our speakers. We have Mr. Osagie, Imasuen. Very nice to have you. Please can we put our hands together as they come up stage. Thank you very much. Very nice to have you, sir. We have Mr. Abdullahi Adamu. Is he here? Yes, please, sir. Thank you. And I believe we had Dr. Yusuf. Dr. Yusuf, please. Thank you very much. Toyosi Egunjobi. Toyosi Egunjobi, is he here? All right. We're going to hand over to our speakers now. We have 2 mics. Unfortunately, we'll be using... Hello? Headset. Yeah, you should work it out. So we'll just start off right away. Thank you very much. Is that fine? Sorry, excuse me. Thank you. Thank you. Right away. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Hello, Abdullahi.
Is this a go? Can I go right? All right. First off, I would say sorry. Can you hear me? Oh, it's so weird to hear your voice. So, first off, I would like to say sorry if I kept anyone waiting. We didn't realize this had started. Been here quite a few minutes earlier. Good afternoon, everyone. I need some smiles, please. I know everyone's just some smiles, please. All right. My name is Damilare, and I would be moderating this session. And I guess before I start the session, I would kind of talk about what this session is about and set the context. Now, when you talk about regulation in AI, there are 2 kinds of regulators right now. There are regulators who are actively thinking about what they can do so that AI doesn't work. And there are other kinds of regulators who are thinking about how they get involved and already using AI. And whether we like it or not, you're already seeing that in your banks, in some of the services you use. And I guess that's what this panel is about. Across this spectrum of speakers on the panel, you have a wide range of sectors that would need to cover, quite a wide range of sectors that we need to cover. And maybe I'll just allow everyone I did, in priming up this panel, I did say to everyone that I would change the questions I was setting a bit and ask, what's the biggest opportunity in AI in your sector right now? And if any concerns, what are those concerns that you've got? So I would start from, Toyo did warn me not to start from us, so I would definitely not start from Toyo. So I'll start from you, sir. What would you consider the biggest opportunity? So I'm looking for the mic, yeah. Okay, thank you. I was wondering where the mic was. Was just a bit of intro, maybe 2 lines about you. But what's the biggest opportunity in AI in your sector, and what's your biggest concern?
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Yusuf Abduljelil from the Central Bank of Nigeria. So I think on a lighter note now, I think the opportunity that was given to me to start up the session before you came, I would have taken that up so you won't start with me. That's just on a lighter note. So for the CBN, we see AI as a very interesting technology. We don't look at AI as just a technology. We look at it as a concept in terms of now we think, what I'm about to do, can I use AI for it? So it's a very, very big opportunity for us. I know in the banking sector, data is key. Data is like the new oil now. So with AI, one of the biggest opportunities now is that you can get a lot of insights in terms of decision making. Things that might take you donkey of years to put together when you have volumes of data. When we talk about big data, with AI now, within split second, if you put in the right prompt, put in the right model, you can use that to make decisions that can impact positively on the financial system. And also, when you talk about financial system stability, you have to talk about consumer protection also. So it's a very, very good thing for us that people are actually adopting here. So it's a good opportunity for us on that level.
Thanks a lot, Abdullahi. Mr. Osagie.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Osagie Imasuen. I'm with Nigerian Upstream Regulatory Petroleum Regulatory Commission, the oil and gas industry regulators. Okay, so for us, it would be, the greatest opportunity will probably be compliance monitoring. It will give us a whole lot of visibility to what is being done in the oil and gas. The oil and gas is it's a very highly technical ecosystem, and we have a lot of data that is actually given to us, historical data as well as operational data. So part of the issues are we need to sift the wheat from the chaff, relevant data, and it will help us become proactive rather than reactive. It gives us, we're able to eliminate anomalies that we're normally given because, like I said, we're given volumes of data and we need to ensure that we know the companies are meeting set standards. For the other issue, I think you mentioned risk. Risk will probably be accountability. It has been said you cannot hold AI to account. So there has to be some form of human accountability. That's where I think we'll draw some more scrutiny, and that's why I see the biggest risk. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a good one. I think world over, one of the biggest areas we're seeing is that accountability or culpability factor. All right, Mr. Abdullahi.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Abdullahi Adamu. I'm with the regulator nobody likes, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. In the electricity industry, there's a lot that AI can help with. But you have to back up to the beginning of the use of AI, which is data. Data is one of the greatest challenges in the electricity industry. Not just fragmented data, but the data is almost always estimated. And I'm sure everybody in here knows about estimated billing. Yeah? So imagine you use the data that is not clean to estimate someone's bill. What will you get? You get chaos. Now, if the human estimates the bill of a customer, that customer will be the only one going to customer service to complain. Imagine you use a model using bad data to do those estimates and send out bills. You have hundreds of thousands of wrong bills that have gone out. So basically, the electricity industry data is very, very flawed. So, and the risk in all of that is bad outcomes. So we have to, in the electricity industry, we have to go back and start from the data infrastructure. So those are the risks and those are the opportunities. There's a lot of opportunity in the electricity industry, but there are also risks.
If I could do and thank you very much there. If I could do a double click on what you just said, because thank you for that introduction. It takes a lot of burden off my shoulders. How does your agency establish a single source of truth? Because you've talked about data, and it's a shared concern across the panel. But how does your agency, what's your approach to this single source of truth?
Okay, so much of our data is self-reported by the discos, the gencos, okay? They're all self-reported, most of it. So, but we've started a process where we are trying to automate a lot of that reporting. I think, I don't want to advertise while we're here. So Blue Chip built a system for us where there is actually some of the automated reporting. But as we are now, where we have put in regulations where IoT devices have to be installed on almost every kind of infrastructure within the electricity industry so that we can get automated and unaltered data. And on top of that, we are building the infrastructure that will receive that data and actually analyze it. So, I mean, we're on a journey, but it will take some doing.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Toyo? And Toyo, if I could just add an additional question for you, and you could choose to ignore my question and answer a different question. It's in terms of compliance, because I think across the regulators, the issue of compliance, whether it's compliance in terms of risk or compliance in terms of data lineage, what's your own biggest, as an individual, what's your biggest concern or risk, and what's your biggest excitement?
Okay, so do I answer that first question and then answer this one, or just answer this one?
Be fluid, as you choose to.
Okay, so hi everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Toyosi Egunjobi. I am a governance and global compliance expert and operations expert as well. And I've mostly worked in the financial services sector. One of the biggest excitement for me from a compliance perspective is the use of AI to be able to automate a lot of things, meaning research, regulations across different jurisdictions, because I have had to work across multiple jurisdictions, Nigeria, the US, UAE, Australia, Lithuania, and so on. So the ability to just use AI to do research, and that also helps with documentation, fraud monitoring, and fraud detection. But then that's also one of my biggest fears because on one hand, AI helps you to detect fraud. I mean, if you have the right tools and stuff to detect fraud very easily, fraudulent patterns, suspicious activities, money laundering. At the same time, you also have to spend extra money because there are deep fakes out there. So if you don't know, it's very possible to impersonate every single person here. Meaning somebody can call your family member and act as you and collect money from the person, and it will be 99.9999 almost accurate that it's you, if that makes any sense. So your family members will fall for your voice, will fall for the face and all that stuff, but it's not you. And people use that. So they're the good actors and the bad actors. Now, from a compliance perspective, it is building tools for customer use and innovation without actually considering the compliance aspect and the regulators.
And what happens, and this is just not only with AI tools, it's just general. When people are building products, it's the excitement of, oh, I have this bright idea. It's time to build it because we can go to market really fast. Let's move aggressively. Let's move fast. Then they forget compliance. Compliance only comes in when the regulator comes and says, okay, show me your processes. Show me how you got here. Show me this, show me that. And then they call compliance to say, come and save our ass. At that point, it's pretty late. So my biggest concern, my biggest excitement is innovation, because things can be done faster. And jokes aside, so I'm a lawyer, and then I've had people come to tell me, oh, AI has come to take your job, and I laugh. Because yes, AI is supposed to help you do things better and faster, but I don't think that you can automatically erase the human aspect, because human beings still need to update certain things and all of that stuff, but that's an aside. So my biggest excitement is automation, because I don't have to sit down and read multiple regulations. I can use an AI tool to give me a summary, and then that helps me to decide what I want to decide. But my biggest fear is, with this automation, there are always good actors and bad actors. Just like in cybersecurity, there are the good hackers and the bad hackers. Then one of my biggest fears as well is, how do we bring regulation and regulators into the AI space without stifling innovation? Because what we've also found from a compliance perspective, because I have to be business and compliance, a compliance person, so I have to find the balance, is how do we ensure that the regulators understand what we're doing as a business without, and then so from that way, they can regulate the use. So you can't regulate AI, you can only regulate the use. So create guardrails and boundaries. It could take some time because it depends on how, but I like the fact that we're having these forums where the regulators can also be here and understand stakeholder engagement and these forums. So, but how quick? Because AI is moving really fast. Yeah. So if as a regulator you're still trying to play catch up at the beginning, meanwhile people have gone really far. So how do we ensure that regulators are fast enough to regulate the use and not the actual tool? And then how do we bring collaboration between the builders of the tools and the gatekeepers, who are the compliance people and the legal people, at the very beginning, not when you have gone live? So I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, you've done a really good job. And I think it's also a really good segue to start with, because now we're to tilt it on its head and to face the regulators is, how are you juggling? It seems like there's so many things to juggle, concerns. You're constantly, as regulators, in the business of juggling, right? So it will be interesting to see, as your agency, how are you approaching this careful balancing act? So I'll start from the CBN here.
Thank you so much. For us in the CBN, we position ourselves as a thought leader in the financial ecosystem. And I'm sure most of you are aware that the CBN has a regulatory sandbox. So this is something we've thought about. And earlier, when you were talking about single source of truth for data, I remember when CBN introduced the BVN, a lot of people didn't understand the thinking behind having a BVN that is unique to each individual. It has to do with data, because like I said earlier, data is new oil now. So we saw that, we had that foresight, and we're able to put that BVN in place so we can have a single source of truth. Regardless of how many accounts you have right now with your BVN, we can uniquely identify you. So with the regulatory sandbox also, we have envisioned that there are lots of emerging technologies coming. If you remember, Nigeria was also one of the first countries to launch a CBDC. Some people were wondering, why are you going into CBDC? Why are you doing this? Well, it's because of the foresight. We know these emerging technologies will come. That's why we have the regulatory sandbox in place, whereby the entities we are regulating can come and, play out. Like we're talking about AI now. If you have an AI solution for the industry, you can come into the regulatory sandbox and play it out. That gives us an understanding of what you're trying to do in a controlled environment. So as a regulator, we know what you're trying to do, and we can have that stakeholder conversation while you're still played in the regulatory sandbox. Recently also, she mentioned something which is very, very interesting, which I actually agreed with. For us in the CBN, we don't care about the tool you use when it comes to AI. What we're more concerned about is the governance, the guardrails. And recently, we released a policy that has to do with baseline standard for AML CFT solutions being used by banks. And what we're simply telling them is you have to put some guardrails. It has to be accountable. It has to be explainable. Whatever solution you're using, there's accountability, which lies with your governance structure, with your top management. It has to be explainable. You need to be able to explain to us how you are able to arrive at that decision. So you can imagine if you have a credit scoring application now, and two people here apply. One person is denied, one person is being approved. You should be able to explain how this person got approved and how this person got denied. Then also, there has to be auditability. You should be able to come back and see that, okay, we can audit the trail and see how this was done. And most importantly, we keep advising entities that we regulate. There are global standards out there that you can adhere to, especially when it comes to AI. There is the ISO 42001, which is the Artificial Intelligence Management System, which is a global standard that tells you how you can put your governance in place. I myself am a certified ISO 42001 lead implementer, so I understand from the governance perspective and from the entity we're regulating perspective also. So that's why for us in the CBN, we focus more on these stakeholder engagements and creating that platform whereby if you have a solution, we're not stifling innovation. Please come out and play there. So that's the way we are approaching it in CBN.
Thank you very much. I'll jump to NEC, and my question is still around this balancing act. But more importantly, are there instances where you've had to really trade off specific things that matter? So Mr. Abduljelil used the examples of auditability, or you can interpret it, and one of the things, for example, with LLM is that it can be a black box. You don't know exactly what happens to that engine. Have there been instances where you haven't really deployed specific things because of some of those concerns? Like, we don't know what exactly is happening inside this engine. We don't want to face consumer wrath in that regard.
Okay, so, the regulator is always government most of the time. And we have bad name. Like you said, stifling innovation and all of that. But we also need to be heedful of the common good. Now, like, I think Imasuen was the one that said it, that you can't set up a system and when the results come out, or rather the outcome, and then you say, well, that's the outcome. You have to be able to explain it. So we've had players who set up some customer service solutions where it's almost totally AI, and then a decision is taken by the system. And then the customer has nowhere else to go to complain. That can't work. I mean, there has to be an escalation path where a human being will still look at it. So we had to put a stop to such kind of solutions. And in a regulation, whatever you're doing must stand, she's a lawyer, must stand the scrutiny of the court if it goes to the court. It must stand the scrutiny of the customer. It must stand the scrutiny of even the regulator himself, you understand? So we had to put a stop to something like that. So you can't have a black box per se. You should be able to explain what's going on in that black box at the end on the other side, basically, you understand? So we've had to do some of those, and we're not happy doing that, but we see that as someone not doing their homework. And like Abduljelil said, if you're a good regulator, you're not looking at the technology. You have no business with the technology. Whatever technology you want to use, that's your problem. But we need to look at what you are trying to solve and how you are solving it and what the outcomes are, what the risks are, and how you want to mitigate those risks, the governance around it and all of that. So basically, I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yes,
that
you
works?
have.
Yeah?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that works. And maybe if I go to the NUPRC, Mr. Osagie, sometimes the oil and gas industry can be very opaque in terms of and I don't mean that as a critic of a regulator, but it can feel very opaque for a lot of people. I guess for you, we work in an industry where, and I think for everybody, everyone who works here as a regulator, you work in an industry that should be considered national security. How are you juggling this act of being more transparent in the use of technology and ensuring that you don't compromise national security?
Okay, the easy way to answer that, okay, so we're all basically regulators here. So to be honest with you, our answers are going to be similar because we don't have that comfort of risk. We manage risk because we are answerable to the public. So our industry, opaque, I might not use that word, it's highly technical. And there's a lot of data. Okay, I'll give you an example. For a new PLC, we have over 7 decades of data. I think we have the largest or the most robust data sets in the whole of Africa in terms of oil and gas. So AI would help to get the requisite information. Security-wise, our job deals with a lot of commercialization, commercial data, national security, research and all whatnot. But we're always very careful. We protect security data, commercial data, but then again, we also have to balance that with data for research, for production, because a lot of companies, they use the data we give to project and to plan. So there has to be a balance. We ensure data security is in place, but then again, we have to be open enough to ensure we give enough data for innovation. We're like gatekeepers. We protect the public, but then again, we have to ensure we don't stifle innovation. But for us, there are just too many algorithms that will be used for AI because search engines to safer complex data, for seismic, for production, for predictive maintenance and all that. But then again, we also ensure there's a balance. We ensure we keep to that. The primary paradigm here would be safety and to ensure data security. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Osagie. And maybe if I follow on that, with respect to, I know the CBN has got a sandbox. Have you got anything in terms of, I won't use the word sandbox, but something in which innovators can plug in to access some of this non-sensitive data?
Okay, so for now, basically you apply based on, it's all tailored towards what you need. But sandbox-wise, no, we do a lot of collaboration. A good example, before we churn out any policy, we do stakeholder peer reviews and all that. We even have a bit of that incidentally for data dealing with security. NS is actually driving that. Then in terms of research in oil and gas, NIDA has something to do with that, technically wise. But then again, the Ministry of Petroleum Resources is championing that. So we have that in play, but collaboration and on a need-to-know basis. Because a good example, too, is information regarding oil-based rounds. If you request information that doesn't concern you, of course, we'll put a stop to that, put a hold on that. But the one that's relevant to you, we do give that. So we tend to measure. We tend to try and balance it as best as we can.
Thank you very much. Nick, do you also have any sandboxes, any open access data that innovators can access?
Okay, so we, like you said, we will say the same thing, you understand? But so basically, we allow the industry, because the industry owns the data, okay, but we have guardrails on what kind of data, especially PII kind of data, right? So we allow them innovate, but they come to us to validate, basically. So, and it's all about collaboration. At every step of the way, we try to be there to see what they are doing. And that also helps us in the learning, because really you can't regulate what you don't understand. You understand? And when you talk about regulation in any industry, the regulator already understands what that is. It's not a black box to the regulator anymore. If not, you really can't regulate it. So we're there at every step of the way, and we kind of co-create some of those solutions, yeah?
Thank you very much. Toyo, if I could just ask, considering your lens on the industry, what have you seen with regards to enforcement of some of these regulators' regulations? Are there instances of enforcement well done or not well done that you can refer to? Might be specifically to fintech or payments, but enforcement of this regulation. As someone being, I give a simple example where I believe it's in the US where the AI was making decision based on wrong data, and the data was correlating health with spend of black population in the US, and therefore because of that it impacted like credit decisions and all that, and the enforcement allowed the person being punished paid significant one. We've also seen instances of, you've been seeing what has been happening with OpenAI, with culpability in different markets and all. Are you seeing some of those enforcements here or not yet?
Well, to the best of my knowledge right now, I am not seeing the enforcement because I think there's a level of, so I'm not saying, okay, let me backtrack or let me change what I wanted to say. So there's enforcement, but it's more about you can use AI to make better decisions, right? Or you can use AI is a tool to make your life easier, as opposed to the tools that you are using, you have to make sure that, so it's like an open rule, or it's not a written rule per se. It's just, like you should know that whatever data that you're using must be correct. You should know that, data protection is important. You should know that certain guardrails and certain things need to be in place. But in terms of like enforcement and penalties, I haven't seen any. I'm not saying there aren't, I'm just saying I haven't seen any in Nigeria. However, I've seen, of course, in the US, I've seen in the UAE as well. Those are two countries or jurisdictions that I know that there are strict enforcements and requirements that you have to follow. And then, of course, there are penalties that you face. In Nigeria, I like the fact that we're having these conversations, and I love the fact that regulators are also involved. But I believe that we're still at the baby stage, right? Everybody's still trying to understand. Even the people that are implementing, the people that are using these tools, people that are building, all of us are still learning, right? So you don't want to get to the point where you are now using too much force and then you're playing the role of chief whip, which, like I said, is just going to stifle innovation because people are like, oh, if I do this, do I get punished and all that. So it's still play, like there are boundaries, but play within, is a very large space. Play within the space as long as, whatever it is that you're using is not, whatever tool you're building or using does not promote fraud, does not promote data protection, does not promote impersonation, then we're good. But we're not going into the nitty-gritty of how the systems and the standards should be built. And so at that point, when you now have those standards, is where you now have enforceability, if that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, it does. And mindful of time, as I start to wrap up, maybe in just 45 seconds each, I'll start from the CBN year. It's almost like you're talking to other regulators, so that's the task here, to say your own learning to the other regulators, because I don't want you to all sound alike and say the exact same things. What have you learned as in your role in using AI or regulating AI in the use in your industry that you think it's a good learning for other regulators if they are thinking AI would scale safely across their industry? Is there anything you've learned that you would like to speak to other regulators to also consider?
Thank you. So for us, one of the very first steps we took was to create that governance ourselves. Like I told you, I'm an ISO 42001 lead implementer. That's the way that you have to build internal capacity because, like you rightly said, you cannot govern what you don't know. So for us in CBN, we have our AI policy in place, we have our AI strategy, we have our AI playbook. So we're actively playing it internally, using it for operational efficiency. So we're using it full scale in-house. So that gives us a lot of insight into what's going on. And also, one of the pillars of our AI strategy is collaboration and stakeholder engagement. So as we are doing it in-house, we're also collaborating with international bodies and fintechs and banks also. So that way, it's a two-way approach. We're learning, and they're also learning from us. And like you rightly said, just to put it out there, we don't just want to put out policies. We're outcome specific. That's why most of our policies are a risk-based approach. What we are much interested in is the outcome. Because what we want to protect at the end of the day is ensure that we have our financial system stability and we protect customer, me and you. So anything that would negatively affect me and you, we are worried about it. But if you're using any tool, we don't care about the tool you're using, but ensure that you maintain that financial system stability and consumer protection.
Okay. Okay. I'll answer it this way. Different stakeholders, different companies use different tools for their operations. Shell, Shell have some AI tools. They use that for predictive maintenance and reservoir management. Chevron, I think Chevron even has an in-house tools that help in bringing down production cost. Which other company? Seplat. There are companies that have various AI tools for various operations. So, to speak to your question, what we've learned, everyone has an idea of the tool they want to use for the operations. So they tailor it towards their operations, how to improve the operations, how to better, basically shorten the time. So for us, apart from the accountability side of it, we need to, as a regulator, like I did mention, we don't have that comfort for risk because we're the last line of defense. So most of the time we tend to work with them, get a bit of comfort, know where the AI tool is search engine or whatever is pointing to. We ensure the data is clean, not unstructured. Because truth be told, if you're not prepared, if you have bad paperwork, AI will just automate confusion, basically. But in all that, we've seen that everyone, every company, every stakeholders, they have their strengths, what AI does for them. So we are flexible enough to accept some of the reports they give to us because it's gone through various layers of qualifications and approval. That is the comfort we get from that. But yes, and I need to chip in here too. For now, as it is, we are like babies. But I'm looking at the demography here, a very young set of people here. It would be good in the next 5 years, possibly, for us to own the AI tools itself. Because that, as a regulator, that gives us comfort. We know that you designed it. The technology is domiciled. It gives us safety, it's not going out. So for us, that is actually what we're looking at to see if we can get that in-house. And I think we're already going that part with summit like this. We put it to the public, to the young ones. I mean, this is the time. Because we don't want to be customers in the next 5 or 10 years. At that point, this power is gone, it's taken from us. So it's very important that we harness, know, and at the end of the day, we own everything that we have. Thank you.
You want to go first?
No, you go first, sir.
All right, thank you.
45 seconds, sir.
Okay. Nobody likes us, so 45 seconds. Okay, so in my experience and in our own industry, you just need to get the foundation correct, and as it's the same for everywhere, every industry. And in AI, the foundation is data. That's where it starts from. And if you get that wrong, everything along the line will just be struggling. Just like Imasuen said, you automate confusion. So my own takeaway, and to everybody, the electricity industry is still at the virgin stage of data integrity. So there's a lot of opportunity there for everybody to play in. I'm advertising the electricity industry to you, okay? Mm-hmm. And then to build on that, until you get that correct, then you can start building on that, okay? And there's a lot of opportunity there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. And finally, Toyo, what's your one, if you had one request, one encouragement to give all the regulators here, what would that be?
I would say that I'm choosing my words very carefully because my regulator is here. So, for jokes aside, one thing that I would say that I like the fact that, now regulators are encouraging collaboration and AI and everything innovation. And I tell people, because I've had a few people who have come to me, I'm trying to build this compliance tool and stuff, and I say the first person, go to the regulators first. Once you have the regulators buy-in, right, it's easy to sell to the companies. For example, insurance. Car insurance, for example, only started becoming a thing when the regulators were like, you know what, you must have car insurance. So if you're building anything, go to the regulators. That means that the regulators are very important. We cannot make decisions without you. But what I would also say at the same time is, let's continue the collaboration. Let's continue to engage. Let's see ourselves as partners in success, as opposed to regulators against me and me against the regulators. If there are questions, let the regulators not do things in silos. Forums like this will encourage communication. And I would also say well done to our regulators for embracing innovation. I look forward to next year to see how far we've come with innovation, AI, and everything related to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think you've just done an excellent recap. So I wouldn't add anything to what you've just done and say thank you to all our panelists for a wonderful session. Our regulators are very open for innovators, and innovators are looking forward to collaborating and working with our regulators. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful afternoon. Yeah, so...
Do we have more time?
No, we don't have more time. That was the human parts that didn't require AI. So I was giving human brief. So a few things have been told. The first is we're going to take pictures. I'm trying to clarify if I still have time for questions. I suspect I don't. I suspect we don't, yes. So we don't, right? Okay, because I wanted to be sure. But yeah, so we're going to take pictures with our panelists. And the hosts also have a gift for each of our panelists. So please, let's appreciate our regulators. And all right. So who's coordinating the pictures? Just tell us what to do. So do we need to stand?
Yes.
Okay.
We can take off the headset. Yes, you can.
Is there an AI that can take the picture?
Please don't take off your headset. So while they're taking their pictures, there's going to be